I'm Hunter Pence, and you're listening to the Misplay Podcast. Oh, yeah.
The Misplay Podcast is possible because of listeners like you. Consider donating at Patreon/TheMisplay. Music intro.
Do 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 do.
Perfect. Hello and welcome to The Misplay, where we want to remove the second manacles but don't know which one is which, and obviously we remove the wrong one. My name is Jason, and I'm joined by my friend and co-host.
My name is Mark.
In Act 1, we have our open retrospective. We will do a follow-up to
Your Lore Minute with Parmalee.
We'll draft the most interesting cards to unnerf. We will preview the draft open and share our misplays of the week. And in Act 2, we're going to look at draft strategies for the upcoming Open. And for those of you on Twitch, we're going to draft. Act 1, Open Retrospective. Congratulations to Carnage for winning the Hour of Glass Expedition Open.
And a spot at Worlds.
Yay.
I think also picking up a win for the Friends of Eternal Team League, too, via the auto win clause.
Yeah, did they beat us with that?
I think so.
Yeah, one of our... They beat the teal trapezoids?
I think so, but I didn't look that closely.
Thanks for coming prepared today, Mark. And also congratulations to Team Invoke Lethal.
Oh, see, I thought you were going to go into congratulating our players that made the top 64.
I was. That's the thing. We want to congratulate the Misplay. We had 5 members who made it into the top 64. That was SRFS, Watchwolf, I'm So Bad, Soapy, and Ronin X. And Soapy made top 8.
Yeah, Soapy crushed. He posted a list of soldiers and was like, here's maybe soldiers, and then went ahead and played that and crushed the whole event.
And Soapy was also, it was the weekend of Soapy. Soapy was also runner-up on Friday in the Tuesday Night Eternal on Friday night. Tuesday Night Eternal on Friday afternoon, sorry. With that very similar list. Was it the same list?
No, he played like the Honor aggro deck.
Oh, okay.
I'm So Bad, though, followed up his top 64 with a win at Tuesday Night Eternal this past Tuesday.
Yeah, actually on Tuesday. I'm So Bad just won a invite to the Summer Invitational. So he's got a 1 in 16 shot of going the Worlds.
It's better odds than we have right now.
Yeah, my odds are not very good.
Put
my odds. What are my odds, Mark, right now?
I don't know. 1 in 100, 1 in 350 at the next Open.
350?
Yeah.
Really?
Sure, you're 1 out of the 350-ish players that play in the Opens.
I know, but if you sorted the Eternal History Project, am I the 350th ranked player? I don't know.
No, but I don't know that that's how that works.
I don't
know that my way is how it works either, but...
When you're setting odds, I mean, I'd give you a better shot. That's all I'm saying.
All right, well, I had another narrow miss this weekend. I felt sad.
We'll get there in just a second.
Should we... Let's take a look at things that people want to hear about. Let's talk about the meta from day 2.
I can do that. I can also show
thing.
that. I can also show that. So I've got it up on the screen. If we didn't mention, this is a live show for those of you listening at home. If you want to go back and watch the VOD, go to twitch.tv/Parmalee. All right, so I've got it up, Mark. So looking at the meta of the qualifying round first.
Yep.
We've got Argent mid at 12%. We have Xenon mid at about 9%. Felon Control, 8.5%. Rakano Aggro, also 8.5%. Huru Soldiers, and then Tradition Soldiers. And I should mention Menace mid underneath that as well.
Yeah, it was a lot of... So I personally think that Xenon mid was overrepresented on day 1. I don't think it's as good as a lot of the other decks that were prevalent in day 2. Like, I think... I'm not sure how like Xenon mid goes into Argenport, but I've liked playing the Felon side. I've liked playing the Menace mid side. I imagine you like playing the soldier side against Xenon. It's just so plotting and doesn't have the same kind of late game or power to close that the Feln decks do or the Davia decks do. So that strikes me as kind of an outlier of being like the new hotness.
Well, we can answer that right away. We can look down at the finals and we can see only 3%, which I think is just one deck, one Xenon mid.
That's probably true. It was Tempest Dragon King who pivoted to it after the TNE.
So definitely underrepresented, however you want to look at it. It did not do well. Any surprises in the meta for you? Because what's interesting, Mark, and for those of you watching on Twitch, I'm going to flip back a week. I'm going to click Misplay Meta week of 7/22/21. And this is the meta running up to the Open. And we published this on Friday morning, right before the Open. And if we look at what was represented on ladder on the week running up, we've got Xenon mid, Felon control, Rakano aggro, Huru soldiers, Tradition soldiers. That's exactly what with the exception of one, Mark, that's exactly what I just told you was the meta of the qualifying round, with the outlier being, and those are even in order, the outlier being Argenport mid. Now we know why. Answer that, Mark. You know the answer. Why is Argenport mid? Because it came out of nowhere. When you go back and you look at the meta from the week before, it's on the chart at 4%. It's it hit the minimum threshold to be counted. I mean, I know the answer. What's the answer?
The answer is Dichro.
No. Aroma Nova.
Oh.
Aroma Nova wins the Tuesday night Eternal on Friday afternoon, right as the Direwolf Open is beginning. So there's some overlap there, and demonstrated the power of that deck in the meta. Now, it's my understanding, Mark, do you know this is TRS's deck, right?
Yeah.
That Aroma Nova was playing.
Yep. I think the story was that Lights Out Ace put it together and then played Stone Scar in the event and then was really mad that they played Stone Scar in the event, is how I heard it in some Discord, I think.
And it's so interesting to look at this and to see a deck that wasn't even represented really on ladder at all, and then it is the most played deck in the qualifying round right after Aroma Nova wins the Tuesday night Eternal on Friday afternoon.
Sure.
It's like the Sunny effect, right?
A little bit. I think a little bit of the Sunny effect, but also like the winner's hotness. Like if you look at the top eight has one Argenport deck, which top four, Caleb made top four with from Team Rankstar with the Argenport list.
Come on, you look at the top eight, almost everything's going to be like a one of in the top eight, right? I mean, look at top 64. The most prevalent deck was Argenport mid. You can't look at the top eight and just go, well, it didn't make top eight, it's not great.
No, I'm not trying to discount the quality of the deck, but I think the asset that the Argenport deck had was people weren't prepared for it, which is why Dichro seems like such a good threat. But I think if you prepare for it, there are actually enough answers in the format where you should be able to beat it still.
And can we say that's what I'm So Bad did in the Tuesday night Eternal final that followed the tournament?
I think we'd have to ask I'm So Bad, because I think he just copy pasted and ran back his list from the Open.
No, it had to be different because it was running feeding time. He wasn't running feeding time in the Open, was he? I could be wrong.
Was it in the market or in the main?
It's in the main.
Okay, small adjustment. That was an adjustment that we made after Ronin X finished their run, and they recommended having some answers made to Dichro, and as a team we came up with a couple of feeding time main. But yeah, it's interesting. It is a really interesting. I think this is a question you wanted to ask for a long time. Is our weak meta before an Open reflective of what we're going to see? Right?
Yeah, and I think the answer is yes, but it's not, it's not perfect.
Sure.
Like it didn't see there wasn't time for Argenport mid to be known, but everything else lined up. Everything else was lined up. If you had looked at the misplay meta before deciding what deck you were going to play on Friday, you would have had a good sense of what you were going to play against.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think some of that is just like us, that Expedition is small enough that it's possible to have just a more solidified meta more quickly. Like when we start looking at Throne after the draft open, Throne will be a lot harder to predict based on the meta report, I think. But maybe not. We'll see.
Let's talk about our runs. You go first.
Me go first. Well, I played Menace Moon. So I played the Menace Short Hopper deck basically with a small Waxing Waning Moon package with Auto Tread. And I did play 2 Feeding Time main because I had the read from Ronan X about it. And what did I do? I started off 11-4 and then snapped off some terrible, just a couple of really bad streak of losses in a row to matchups that I think were probably good matchups. And I finished 17-11. There was a really small amount of time where I thought I was going to make it in on 17-11, but I was smart and didn't get my hopes up for that.
Yeah, I was a little bummed. I was watching your run at night, and you were looking good. I went to sleep, and then then I looked at the dock, and it was 17. I'm like, oh, just missed.
I'm sure there were a couple of games where I threw things away. I think, I don't want to blame this on the time of day that I play, but playing 10 at night to 2 a.m. is probably not the ideal time for me to be playing, but it is the time that works for my other commitments and schedule. So
same.
I'm sure I throw a little bit of equity by not playing at an ideal time. But again, I can't change that because I have to play with how my time allows.
I'm in the same boat as you. I play late on Friday as well. Not by choice. It's just, that's the time I have. I don't have Saturday morning to play. I don't have Saturday afternoon to play. I don't have Friday morning or afternoon to play. So I just have to play then. I did considerably worse, and it certainly wasn't because of the time of day. So one, I did buy the campaign. So on the last show, we talked about whether or not I was going to buy the campaign to compete. I could have not bought the campaign.
I think you should have just played Film.
Wow. So I played Argenport Mid. I feel like I played one of the best decks. The reason I did was obviously Aroma Nova. Aroma Nova had done well in the Tuesday Night Eternal by winning with that deck. It played really well against the Menace decks. And I had been playing in the week leading up to that kind of like as a side project. So I was playing Menace, but as a side project, in addition to Dice Ruin, of course, I was playing an Argenport build. Now, it was not Aroma Nova's build, but it was pretty similar. I was running 4 copy of Daishiro, the 5/6 flyer. It was running Exploit. It was running Moldermux. It had the same game plan. I just didn't have the same mix of cards. And so when I saw them do really well in the Tuesday Night Eternal, and I knew the meta was shifting that way, and I didn't love the matchup against Menace, I said, well, I'm just going to join them. I'm just going to play that deck. And so I did, but I didn't play it very well. And I made some mistakes, and I ended up dropping at 6-6.
So the thing I want to talk more about you pivoting to Argenport is you came into Discord on Thursday night, and as like a throwaway thing, you're like, Diecrow is the best unit in Expedition.
I said that was my hot take. I came into the Misplay Discord, our team Discord channel, and I said that, yeah.
But so that's ahead of the TNE.
Yes.
And it's you always kind of like sell it in a way that like, haha, I'm joking kind of thing. If you had given a little bit of explanation or said it a little sooner, I think it's something that we as a team would have explored and either found a good build of or been more prepared for.
Am I being blamed for something?
I'm not saying blame, but I'm saying like, I think the way you present things that you share comes off as being less informed than you actually are. And I think
you're right about how I did that. You're right about how I did that because I'm not Watchwolf. I'm not Kolokoma. If Watchwolf comes into Discord and says, guys, Daishiro's really good. We should be trying this out. We're all building it. We're all playing it. But yeah, I came in kind of as a joke with my hot take. And in fairness, like people replied to me like, it's good in draft. And that was it. Like somebody had said, oh, it dies to the Mandrake. Okay, almost everything dies to Mandevilla if it doesn't have an Aegis. In fact, everything without an Aegis does die to that. So, yeah, I knew it was strong based on some playing with it and some playing against it, because I had seen it a couple of times, but I was also playing it. And it just didn't feel like anyone had any answers. Once that hit the board, it wasn't going anywhere. You can't, this was a meta that was just based around stun. Can't stun it.
Yeah. Those are really good observations. And the argument that you just laid out is a really good argument for, well, we should be exploring playing this card. We didn't get a lot of that. And I'm really not trying to
I know.
throw shade and be mad. What I'm trying to share more is for people that are collaborating with other people or on a team or not on a team. When you're collaborating, even if your idea is not a well-vetted idea, put it out there with your rationale, because someone might be like, yes, your rationale makes sense. And you can and then you've contributed to the discourse, you've contributed something meaningful. And that's kind of the fun of the collaborative part of working with other people in a card game context, but also as one of the things where we internally as a team have talked about, how do we make our testing process a little more efficient? How do we share information better? And I think this is a little bit indicative that we haven't improved on that system to a place where we're getting the most out of what we could be.
Sure. That's constructive criticism. Good feedback.
Shout out to Kolokoma.
Yes. Shout out to Kolokoma, who was interviewed by Direwolf. So if you watch the Direwolf Digital Open on Twitch, or if you go back and watch the playback, or they actually tweeted just the link that just has the interview, you can check out Kolokoma. He's got a 20-minute interview with Direwolf that they played during the Open. Pretty cool. And the reason I wanted to shout him out was he mentioned the misplay. He mentioned both of us.
And wore the t-shirt.
Yeah, Parmley and Gato Sujo, and throughout Soapy. And I mean, throughout it, he mentioned other members of the team as well. I think he did a really great job of kind of, publicizing us, getting us out there. He talked about the team, talked about the podcast. And Kolokoma does so much, every time you listen to the Tuesday Night Eternal and Telemachus goes, it's sponsored by the Misplay. It's actually sponsored by Kolokoma. I'll say it here once. Kolokoma is the person who donated that money to Tuesday Night Eternal on behalf of the Misplay. And that's because he's awesome.
Also, I'm going to add on to that shout out that Kolokoma was also really generous and didn't ask questions that were necessarily specifically personal to what Kolokoma's interests were. He asked questions. He vetted the community for questions and asked those as the questions.
So Kolokoma, thanks so much. Great job. Great interview. Loved your t-shirt. A look back at your
Lore Minute with Parmalee. So for anybody who wants to and is able to see the show doc, you can read the story that Jason told us last week if you'd like. So I thought a fun thing to do, since Jason did buy the campaign, would be see what he thought about the story.
This is a good answer.
I'm looking at him with really angry eyes already.
So I did buy the campaign, and I thought it was really interesting. No, I have no idea. I played it. So my intent was, Mark spent all this time. He created the story. We did the Mad Libs with it. I was like, oh, I'm going to play it and listen to it and compare my answers to their answers. And what ended up happening was I played it on my phone with no sound and didn't care about anything because I was just trying to get it done so that I could have the cards and start prepping for the tournament, because I thought I might play with some of the new cards, and I did. So, Mark, I saw the story, and a couple of times I read the thing going across the screen, but absolutely no idea what was going on.
You didn't read it either?
No, I didn't read it either. I just sorry. You put on that time too, and I just assumed it was all the Grenahan King.
I guess. I will say, the funniest thing to me about it, and I was thinking about having you take us through some of the references take us through the references that you made throughout the story. So like Grenahen King, okay, it's the Grenahen. Crafty Occultist was just another card name you grabbed. Canyon of Doom, is that from something, or was that just something you said that sounded fantasy-ish to you?
Yeah, it just sounded fantasy.
Okay. What about Unspoken Terror?
That was a card.
No.
That's a card.
Is it? I
Yeah.
thought, oh, it's a different one.
It's in the campaign. Because I was looking at the campaign cards as you were reading the story to me. I'm like, okay, I can maybe kind of piece this together.
Right. So the Terrible Trivium is the one that I really wanted to ask about.
Oh, that is from the Phantom Tollbooth. I love that. It's like a monster, and they assign you pointless tasks. Like, move that pile of sticks over here. Like, it's just like, no. So I love the Terrible Trivium in that book.
All right. Well, I will give you props for...
Yeah, what did I get right?
So one, Azendel Mastermind is kind of like the big antagonist at the behind the scenes of things.
Okay.
I can't believe you didn't talk about the Queen of Glass,
Who is the Queen of Glass?
the unit that comes off the speaking circle.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, but like, who is the Queen of Glass? They're in the campaign. I played
Yeah.
the campaign. I have no idea.
So spoiler alerts, I think it's been long enough that we can talk about spoilers on the show now. Is that true?
Yeah.
All right. So
At the end of Jaws.
at the end of Jaws, they blow up the shark,
Whoa.
don't they?
I don't know. That
Anyway,
seems rough.
the thing that made me laugh the most at your version is the thing where you're like a mirror image of herself. Because by the end of the story, the reveal of the secret ally that you named as the Grenahen King
Yeah.
was actually the Queen of Glass.
Okay.
The Queen of Glass was future Talir.
Okay.
So this is a time travel story.
Okay. I like time travel.
So future Talir is the Queen of Glass, who summoned Talir to the future to see the future that was going to come to fruition because of Azendel.
Does Talir know that she saw herself?
No, not until the end.
Okay.
Which is why it's funny to me that you had a mirror image of herself so early.
Oh, look at me.
Because so you see, that's the
Yeah.
that's the cool bit. The last thing I'll give you is I really enjoyed your the nod to your own headcanon of helpful Doorbot being still relevant in the Eternal lore.
Yeah.
So that was a good throwback to your own writing. Nice job.
Thanks. Plus, they were being helpful. They were, an ally.
Location stuff. So the whole thing is about Talir arrives in Bastion and then goes to the bottom of Bastion, bottom of the tower, and then climbs. And so that was some of the location things that you were talking about, or that were in the story. So Waystone Core was a spot that she went, but not at the end, because at the end she ends up at the speaking circle.
Sure.
Play the campaign and read the story, Jason.
I'm not going back. You can go back and do it, can't you?
You can.
I'm not going back and paying attention to anything.
All right. Well, this really well laid, beautifully 2-week section of segments that we've planned, blown up by Jason not reading the story.
You did well though. Don't let anybody take that away from you.
All right, let's move on.
We're gonna draft the most interesting cards to unnerf. We should point out that last week Mark and I drafted the best cards in the campaign. It was a 2-person draft, just Mark and I. I finished in 3rd place. Ask me how that's possible, Mark.
How's that possible, Jason?
You finished in 2nd place, so I don't want to hear it from you.
To be fair, I think I had the swing vote because I voted for C.
So after Mark and I published our draft in Discord, D-Dub comes in and was like, I can't believe you guys, no one picked Jada,
Jada, something.
And from that, I think D-Dub picked 3 other cards and then somehow inserted a C to the vote. Don't know how he did it into the poll. And I think it became a meme at that point. And everybody voted for C, which was just D-Dub's cards. Did you vote for that too?
I voted for C.
You're just part of the meme.
There was a minute where I could have voted for myself, and I think I would have been ahead, but I decided to vote for C so that you would lose to C.
Yeah,
it was worth it.
Yeah, I got 3rd place in a 2-player draft. Didn't feel good.
I mean, I lost the Boba bet, so
that's true. Mark did pay up his Boba today.
Melenton says that he'll draft with us.
Excellent. So we are going to draft the most interesting cards to unnerf. So this has to be a card that was previously nerfed. Interesting is there's some leeway there. Like, I feel like with this voting, like if I pick the wrong card, people are just gonna be like really upset at me. I mean, I'm worried that D-Dub is now gonna create a D vote somehow. I don't know, like the magic admin powers in Discord, and I'm gonna get 4th place in a 3-player draft here.
Well, so that's why it's like that's why we're looking for interesting. We don't want to break the game to like an unplayable or an unfun meta. What we want to do is open up strategies that either are less prevalent or that need support.
All right. So I've got the first pick. Mark's got the second. MLNTN, who's joining us for this draft, has got the 3rd pick. I'm going to take the first card you think of when you think of unnerf. I think it's a card people would like to see unnerfed generally. I think bringing Torch back to fast would be the most interesting thing we could do, just to see at this point whether or not it still needs to be slow.
That's a pretty hot take. It's a really controversial one. I agree with you, but there are a lot of people that don't want fast Torch back.
They're all going to vote for D. All right, Mark, you've got the next pick.
Well, I'm just going to pick all my favorites that I want to be unnerfed. So I'm going to start off with Soulfire Drake. Soulfire Drake currently is a 6-cost triple fire influence 5/2 with flying and charge. Entomb, give all of the units in your deck either flying or charge in your deck. And it used to be a 5-cost something else. I think the influence was less restrictive in the pre-nerf version. Yeah, so it was a double fire influence, and it was a 4/2. So I would love to see it just come back to its original form. A 5-cost 4/2 that... Oh, that's right. It's been nerfed multiple times. It was a 5-cost triple fire, and then it went to a 6-cost triple fire. I think it's ready to come back to a 5-cost 4/2. It could probably even be a 5-cost 5/2, but that might be pushing it. So Soulfire Drake is my first pick.
I like it. One of my all-time favorite cards.
I don't believe that's true.
What do you mean you don't believe that's true? I just told you it's true.
Did you like that card?
Yeah.
Huh.
We talked about this. I think last time it came up, we talked about it. It was in the deck that I qualified on the first ECQ. You helped me.
Oh, that's right. The Stone Scar one.
Yeah.
I think that's when it costed 5.
All right. MLNTN, you've got 2 picks in a row. With their first pick, MLNTN is going to take Vicious Highwayman.
I'm on board for this. Vicious Highwayman also got the +1 cost treatment. I can't remember if they changed the influence requirement of it or not.
Vicious Highwayman is the 5/3 charge Warcry. Deal 1 damage to an enemy. When an enemy unit dies, Vicious Highwayman gets lifesteal and quick draw this turn.
Yeah, it used to be a 4-cost 4/2 with the same influence requirements. Thank you, Kolokoma.
Ooh, and MLNTN with their second pick is going to swipe a card from Mark, I imagine, with Heart of the Vault.
I feel a little sad about that.
Yeah, that was a card I wanted as well.
But I think that's another really great pick. I think Praxis is probably a little underrepresented in Throne. And man, Heart of the Vault would have been great for Sentinels or for Praxis in this current meta, in the current expedition. But it used to be a 6-cost 6/6 with Warp and all the same text.
Yeah, this is a card I feel like which makes it a really good pick, if they reverted it back, I don't think anyone's going to be like, oh my gosh, upset. Like, this isn't offending anybody. This isn't doing anything that ridiculous in Throne. It's good. It's really good, but I'd like to see this changed. Actually like to see this changed.
I agree, 100%. For my next one... So I've hit my Rakano aggro itch. Now I need to hit my Carver Shrine itch. I'm going to take Lumbering Stone for my next one. Or Lumbering Stone. I'm going to take Slumbering Stone for my next pick.
Yeah.
That's what they should call it now, a Lumbering Stone, because Slumbering Stone used to play the 2/2 Gargoyle for free when it entombed, but it was deemed too good in the Cultist meta. And so it bit the bullet for probably worse offenders, in my opinion. So I think you could send Slumbering Stone back and it would still be fine.
MLNTN liked it, said, dang, Stone was on my list. That's a great one.
Got him. You took mine, so I'll take yours.
Even Stevens. I've got 2 picks. I hate aggro. So I'm going to take Blight Moth. Blight Moth help me with what was changed. It now costs 3. It was 2, correct?
Yep.
Was it bigger? Was it always just a 1/2?
I think it was always a 1/2. I'm pretty sure it was always a 1/2.
The corrupted was probably less.
Nope, it was the same corrupted.
Okay.
This is one that didn't really get the corrupted treatment.
Okay. So Blight Moth says, give an enemy unit and each enemy that shares the type with it -1/-1. This is your Yeti killer. Loved it. Put it in everything. Think that's why it was nerfed. And at 3 cost, it's probably a little bit more fair, but you don't see it at all anymore. I mean, I'm not playing a lot of Throne, but how often are you running in the Blight Moth, Mark?
Never.
Yeah. So again, I think it would be interesting to revert that one back. Also, I hate aggro. Did I mention that?
You've mentioned that a couple times.
And my third pick, I'm going to take a card. I didn't know it was nerfed. When Mark put it on this list, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I didn't know that card was ever changed. Mark knows I really like this strategy from Magic the Gathering, and that's Madness. So steal and ready an enemy unit this turn. And I guess it used to cost 2?
Yep.
Was it ever fast?
No.
Okay. So I'm going to take Madness. At 2, that would be awesome.
Collectively, we're just going to unnerf all of Haunted Highway.
So I took Blight Moth and Madness, and then I'm going to pass it back to Mark.
Man, there's so many cool cards. All right. Well, my undying love for Armory says I have to choose Smuggler's Stash next. Smuggler's Stash used to be a 6 cost, draw 2 weapons and 2 units from your void. And it was very, very good in a world where you could play things like Auric Runehammer.
Wait, isn't that what it is now? Draw 2 units and 2 weapons from your void?
It is, but it costs 6 now. It used to cost 5.
Oh, just the cost.
Yep. So I'm going to take that because I keep hoping every time a new set comes out, I'm like, can I build Armory yet? And the answer is always no. I've gotten close. I felt that there are lists that are close, and I feel like having one really strong draw spell would be a good way to go about that. It's hard to say you can't allow Smuggler's Stash to cost 5 when it caps at a draw 4, and we're playing Diangolo's Mites for 6 and 7, and that has less deck building constraints than Smuggler's Stash. So I pick Smuggler's Stash as my next unnerf.
That's going to put MLNTN back on the clock. They've got 2 picks to round out their team. And their first pick, they're going to take Haunting Scream. Wait, I feel like this card got buffed. What got nerfed on this? I thought it...
So it did get nerfed because it used to cost 2.
Oh, okay.
But when they made it cost 3, they said, okay, we'll allow you to have cards that cost up to 5.
Okay. So it was a 2-cost spell where you could play a unit with cost 4 or less?
Yep.
Okay.
Haunting Scream's a great pick. I think I actually like the way that it plays as a 3-cost spell, and I also think that that helps prevent like super degenerate things from happening. I also don't hate that it's not even, but it's a respectable choice. So Melenton's last pick is the Witching Hour. I wouldn't mind living in a Witching Hour world. So the Witching Hour...
24 cost spell?
Yep.
Used to cost 23?
No. Good try, though.
Don't ruin my jokes.
Oh.
Jeez.
Try it again. I'll laugh this time.
Used to cost 23? Okay.
That helped? Did I help the joke?
No.
The Witching Hour used to count power cards. So it used to say whenever you play a card, reduce the cost of Witching Hour by 1. And they took out they made it so that it didn't count power anymore.
That's bonkers. Now, I didn't play the game when that was a thing. Did everyone just play the Witching Hour?
Yep. It was right around the time that Scouting Party was debuted as a promo card. And so you would play up to Scouting Party, play Scouting Party, and either play Witching Hour or Champion of Chaos, which hadn't been nerfed yet either. Champion of Chaos used to be a bananas card. The Primal ability used to give your units flying, and then they would get +2 attack from the Champion of Chaos. They used to get +2 power from the Champion of Chaos, and so you would just like make a flying army and murder people. And then if that didn't kill people, you had free Witching Hours by like turn 7 or 8.
Crazy.
Good pick. I think it's a cool card.
Say good pick again.
Good pick.
That makes MLNTN's team Vicious Highwayman, Heart of the Vault, Haunting Scream, and The Witching Hour. Mark, you've got your last pick.
This has been a fun one. There have been a lot of interesting cards to talk about. Kolokoma says no love for Felrock. I don't want an unnerfed Felrock.
Nobody does. Get out of here, Kolokoma. Nobody wants you to play with that card ever again.
For my last one, I think I'm going to take Aijin the Walking Armory. I think Rakano really needs some help. And I think Aijin might be the way to do it. Now, what I don't think you want to see is I don't think you want to unnerve all of the Surge cards. But if you unnerve like one or two of them, you kind of open that up as the way for Rakano to be different from the other aggro decks. And so I'll take Aijin the Walking Armory for my last one.
This was a misplaced spoiler.
It was a misplaced spoiler.
What was the original? It's been so long.
It used to play the weapon on itself. You could play Aijin onto an empty board with your influence threshold and get a 7/7.
Okay. No, nobody wants that, Mark.
I don't even know if it would be good. So that'll leave my team at Soulfire Drake, Slumbering Stone, Smuggler's Stash, and Aijin the Walking Armory.
Since we're making Torch fast, I think it's okay to put Teacher of Humility back to a 3/3. And Disciplinary Weights. What was the original on that?
Oh, yeah. Teacher of Humility used to increase the cost of spells by 2.
No, it still does, right?
Oh, it might have been by 3. Let me look. I think the more important thing is it used to be a 3/3.
Yeah. I think that's the bigger thing. But it also, Kolokoma says by 3.
Yep. I'm sure Kolokoma is right.
So if we're making Torch fast, then Teacher of Humility can be a 3/3. I don't think this is insane. I mean, we have 2-cost 3/3s. Obviously, this ability is annoying.
This ability was also much more devastating to the control decks when Face Aegis wasn't essentially free. Like, any control deck worth its weight in salt now plays the 4 Cobalt Waystone and 4 Transpose. And so, like, it's just so much harder to get your value out of Teacher of Humility. But I can see how it's unfun for the control player not being able to do whatever they want after the first 5 turns of the game.
So my team is Torch, Blightmoth, Madness, and Teacher of Humility. If you'd like to vote, come to our Discord. You can vote for myself, Mark, or MLNTN.
Or D.
Or D for D-Dub, who's going to create his own list. Man. And MLNTN, thank you for drafting with us, and also thank you for creating the graphic that we use every week. Now, I'm a little bit worried that for this week, he's just going to change our picks to crazy nonsense stuff. But I trust him. Mark, do you trust him?
I do.
Okay, I trust him as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's talk about the draft open.
Yeah.
There's a draft open coming up.
Yeah.
Mark?
Jason?
I don't think I can play.
Hit the button. I don't believe that's true. Easy. Good job, Robot Mark.
I could pay to play,
You could.
but then I wouldn't be free to play anymore. So I've been free to play all season. I only have it up on the screen. I only have 9,000 gold, and I'm not playing a ton right now. In fact, I told you, I might have mentioned it in Discord as well, I deleted Eternal from my phone. I've not stopped playing Eternal, although I have not played Eternal in almost a week. But I deleted it from my phone. The reason being is that I just didn't have a lot of time to play. And when I was playing from my phone, and I was running into all kinds of bugs on the phone, plus making bad decisions because I'm trying to juggle and do 2 things at once. And it just wasn't a good experience for me. And because I'm not playing from my phone and sneaking in games here or there, I'm not going to be able to get enough gold. I'm not going to have 35,000 in the less than 2 weeks before the draft open. sad faced.
I mean, I feel sad about it.
I mean, this is a result of not playing a ton and having, a campaign and 3 tournaments in the span of 2 weeks.
Sure.
I mean, what do you expect as a free-to-player? Now, again, I'm not criticizing, because you should put a little money into the game if you like it. You should, like, how many free Magic tournaments did we ever participate in, Mark? Zero. Right? I was just like, I get it. I'm just pointing out that if I maintain my free-to-play status, I won't be able to play. I'm bummed a little because draft is my favorite format.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised you didn't skip the Constructed Open.
I thought about it, but, Soap Yellow put me on the starting roster. I was a red rhombus, and, I had high hopes. Especially playing Argenport.
Well, and on the back of what, the previous Open, you top 16?
Yeah, coming off the last one. I was a hero of the people. So I haven't played a game of draft in a long, long time, because all of the gold I've just been saving for tournaments and campaigns. So does draft still work the same way it works, Mark?
I mean, yes. And the good news is that we're going to talk briefly about the balance changes and the pack updates. So if anybody wants to join us looking at those, I'll put them in chat. Let's go over the buffs. They changed some cards in the Hour of Glass set. Or no, that's the name of the thing. What are the newest packs called? Revelations. So they changed some cards in Revelations. They gave a huge buff to Rooted Observer. It used to be a 1/1 for 1 that became a 3/3 if you played a stealth unit while it was in play. Now it's a 1/1 for 1 that becomes a 4/3. So it reaches like Nahid's Faithful levels of power pre-buff. So that's a cool card that I've been meaning to like force a draft of as many as I can get to see if it's good. They also changed launching Asri, which, what did they do? Now it gets flying and Aegis. It used to only get flying. And that's when you play another unit with stealth. It changed Relic Feaster from a 2-cost 1/1 to a 2-cost 1/2 with its amplified text of sacrifice a relic to give it +2/+2. And Entomb, play a unit with the same stats as Relic Feaster. They moved Shock Elemental from a 3-cost stealth from a 3/2 to a 4/2. They moved Gnashing Displacer from a 5-cost stealth from a 4/4 to a 5/4 with Overwhelm. And they buffed Martial Izia from a 2/2 to a 2/3 that says flying, summon, play 2 6/6 Sentinels, Entomb, kill all Sentinels. So it looks like they're trying to give a lot of help to Primal still. It looks like Primal's not where they want it to be by whatever metrics they're using. And so maybe these numbers help push it a little bit more.
Interesting question you posed. Do you think you would think they'd have the ability? Do you think they do look at that? Do you think they're running like who's drafting what?
I hope so.
I mean, I would if it were my game, I would be running that. I would know for sure what colors are least represented or most represented. Do you think they do that?
I think they do.
Yeah, I would imagine.
I mean, if you look at it, I think I would be willing to bet if we looked at the Farming Eternal data, I bet Primal is fairly underrepresented. So like these changes make sense to helping Primal become more represented. Expedition changes, I think so they added a bunch of cards to the draft packs. They're adding a little bit of removal in fire. They're adding Avagraph to Expedition, which is kind of wild.
Oh yeah, give me more relics. It doesn't matter anymore. No one's playing Expedition. No, seriously, like by the time the next Expedition Open is, they'll have changed it again.
Sure.
So you can do whatever you want right now.
I guess.
The next Open's thrown. I mean, after the draft one.
I'm still going to play Expedition.
There's no reason to. We
fun.
can talk about that on another show.
We have talked about it on other shows. Okay, so new cards to be scared of in draft. No respect for TNE. Oh, it's true. No respect for TNE. There's what, like one more open? Or there are 4 more. There are 4 more TNEs, so there are 2 expeditions where these cards will matter.
Okay, that's fair. I didn't look at it with that lens. You're right.
Good point, Kolokoma. Sandstorm Titan comes to Expedition Avagraft. I'm just hitting the hits that I'm catching on first glance. Banish is big for Xenon. Xenon Initiation Desert Alchemist will be a fun one to add. It does look like they're trying to help Xenon in Constructed. These are great cards in Draft also. Twinbeard Sauropod, that's going to be another fun one for the time decks. Thunderstrike Dragon. I don't think this won't replace Davia, but it does give Primal decks some more options in Expedition. And it's a great draft card. And Yeti Runecrawler Yeti. Kill an attachment on summon.
So the changes they've made for draft is what they've locked in for the tournament, right?
Yep.
There'll be no more changes leading up.
Yep.
Okay.
So I've been reading in a couple of Discords that there was a little bit of... There's kind of a question of, are we going to see bot packs in the next Open? And I think the jury is kind of out. There are folks that think that we are in bot pack land. There are people that think we're not. I haven't felt it, and I've done a few drafts since the update yesterday. So I guess TBD. I hope that we're not on bot packs for the Open. That's my big hope.
Did people feel like we were last time?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. For the qualifying round?
Mm-hmm.
And
in the top 64.
I never felt like my cards were ridiculous.
I played against Speaking Circle more than once in my day 1 and day 2.
I don't think that's... Day 2, it's a little much. But in day 1, that's not totally unreasonable to think that... Because if it's in there, it's absolutely getting played. Like, It's a card that wouldn't... Like, even if you opened it up pack 4 and it doesn't have any influence, it's just whatever. So, I mean, I think it makes sense to see that card. I think it'd be weirder if it was a faction card that you saw a lot.
I think I played against a lot of Diecrest too. I feel like I played against an uncomfortable number of rares and didn't have that level of power in mind. But that's neither here nor there.
We'll see. We'll see if I get to play. I know we're going to talk about strategies here in Act 2.
Yep. Well, we're going to talk about like macro draft strategies in Act 2. But as we preview the draft open, I was going to ask you if you have been drafting, but since you haven't, strategies that you've had success for or like in the draft format. But I guess you haven't drafted this format ever. He
Nope.
shakes his head. All right. Well, and you haven't watched any of the team drafts because you're a spoil sport.
Nope. The team is doing something really great right now. And I think it's a great idea. I just haven't been able to participate with the Pretendo drafts. So they are drafting, taking the screenshots, and then other people are going back through it and seeing what decks they end up on. So just like our format we created, that's pretty cool. I really like that. I think that's a great way to prepare. And if I had more time, I would participate.
I mean, the nice thing about that is you can just cruise through and click on your picks.
Assuming I have the time to cruise through it and click on my picks. That's the whole point.
5 minutes. That's all right. We're going to do one on show.
Okay. We are in Act 2.
So I think we'll save that for Act 2 then.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our misplays of the week.
So, posted this one on Twitter. It's playing against Collector. Day of or the day before the Open on Argenport Mid, and they were on Argenport Mid as well. So not a situation you ever want to be in. Playing Collector in a mirror. Just not going to work out well for you. And I was holding my own for a little bit, and then I had an opportunity to blow Collector out. I was like, yeah, I'm going to get him right here. I'm never being Collector. I'm like, I'm going to get him right now. So I attack with a unit. It's, I forget which one it was. I think it was the 2/3 Death Touch, the Valkyrie. And they had a 5/6 Daishro on their side. And they didn't block, of course, right? That's a bad trade for them. But I was going to get them on the crackback because I had Withstand in my hand, which says give a unit +4/+4 and endurance. So I'm like, okay, you don't want to block it, but when you attack, I'm going to block you. So my unit is exhausted. Collector attacks, falls into the trap, predictably. They declare their attack. I cast Withstand on my unit so that I can block. I cast it. I give it +4/+4 and endurance, but it never becomes ready. It just stays, like grayed out. Collector's attack goes through. Shenanigans.
Read the cards.
Why would it even give me a pause to play that card?
Because it's a fast spell.
There's not a viable unit for me to play it on, right? I mean, there is and there isn't. But anyway,
there is.
it's not the game's fault. But it was not intuitive to think. I thought endurance meant it would be able to block. It's got endurance. It can attack and it can block. Now I get a card. Ilya K pointed out on Twitter that a card like Lay Siege says ready the unit. Like it clearly says ready the unit. And I don't think it's intuitive. I don't think I'm the first person ever to do that. And so obviously I don't think I shame conceded on the spot, but the game was over right then. That was a complete waste of my resources.
I think it is unintuitive in the way that Withstand will break a stun and give you a ready unit against a stunned unit.
Yes.
So it breaks permafrost, but it's because you're releasing it from the stun, not that it's not ready.
That's not intuitive. And
I know.
Arcade jumps in with their first time chat and says, haha, I've totally done that misplay too. Thanks.
Mine, I guess I'll just go back. Okay, so I'm going to share a general one that is a leak in my game since we haven't talked about game leaks in a while. I have this habit of deciding I'm going to use a removal spell on a unit and then letting that unit deal damage to me and then using my removal spell. Don't take the extra damage. If you're going to use the removal spell, just use it before you take damage. It might even be right to play it on your turn, depending on the context of the hand. But if you've earmarked a card and are 100% to play your removal spell on a unit, might as well get it before it deals you damage.
Good PSA.
Warning.
Sponsor?
Yeah. So I just noticed in Discord we have a sponsor bit from a listener, so I think we'll do that one.
Oh, is that the one that got pasted in?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is from Apricot Knight, listener of the show and friend of the Discord, and is helping out with TNE now. So shout out to Apricot Knight for helping keep things running for everyone in the community. So they shared a sponsor bit with us, and I have not been quiet about this one, so I feel this one near and dear to my heart. So without further ado,
we're going to take a quick break, get a word in from our sponsor, and we will be right back.
Have you ever drafted Shadow and really needed a 3/3 for 3 stealth unit? Tired of understated Shadow stealth units? Jealous of Sticky Flytrap? Are you too good for Concealed Veteran and its relatively empty text box? Fear not, because you could be past an Elding of the final hour, here to fill all of your 3/3 for 3 needs without needing to be in time. For the low price of double influence on turn 3, you too can make your opponent feel sad when they play Blitzstone. Or you can trade down with an Ursa Squadron, Bloodspear Foot Soldier, Raging Jackal, or Battlewise Elite. And let's not forget that legendary card border and unique attacking audio. Elding, so good, she had to be nerfed beyond literal functioning. Pick one up where supplies are available.
Excellent sponsor bit, Apricot Knight, and totally on theme with the show.
I'm still so mad about the Elding bug. Act 2.
The Misplay Draft Primer.
If you're feeling light on time to prepare, if you're feeling light on gold for the draft open or practice drafts, there are lots of places where you can go and talk about pick orders and find cards that are good and all of the details of a specific draft format. But what we're going to talk about today is kind of a little more of a 101 kind of drafting, where we talk about the different plans for how you're going to execute your draft. And there's kind of a progression. And I think it's okay to go with any of these strategies, depending on your level of experience with draft. If you're a brand new drafter, I think it's fine to use any of these. And if you're looking for, making a day 2 or winning an open, maybe you want to edge towards specific of these strategies. But let's go through a couple. So we're going to go over 3 ways that you could approach your draft. The first one being you can just force a strategy. You can choose ahead of time before seeing the first pack and disregard what you see and just take all of the Fire and Justice cards and say, I'm going to be Rakano.
How often does that work out? So I know you wrote not recommended.
So I wouldn't recommend it, but I do think there are cases where if there's a clear tier 0 strategy, like people have asserted that there have been in, I think Argent Depths was a pretty close one where it was close to correct to be forcing justice because of how good that 3/5 for 3 was.
Yeah.
I think this is also if you're uncomfortable with draft and just want to try it for the first time, I think it's fine to be like, okay, find a couple of good cards in the same color at the beginning and just commit early.
I'm guilty of this. I think if we sat down and we looked at all of my drafts across different formats or even including Magic, you would see a pattern in my draft in that. And I don't necessarily think it is because like I've evaluated the draft to say this is the tier 0. It's like comfort level, like cards I like, cards I think are good, the small amount of success I might have had with a faction. So as bad as it is, I will throw my hand up in the air and say, this is me.
Again, I think that's a fine place to be if you're a new drafter or if you're learning a format for the first time, or if you have a specific learning objective. I think it's okay to force something. I made a joke in Discord last night that I did a team draft, but if no one was going to come, I was just going to force the changed Rooted Observer, and I was just going to take everyone that I saw just to see if it was good. So I think it has learning purposes also. But again, like if you're looking to like have the highest win rate all the time, I don't think forcing is where you want to be. And I'm sure there are more talented players that could say maybe it is, but I'm not that player. The next strategy is, so what these go from kind of like the least regard for what's happening in the draft and in the packs to having the most regard for what's happening in the draft. So the next one is trying to stay in one faction for as long as possible and finding like a secondary color to round out your deck. And I've actually heard Hats on Lamps kind of advocate for this. So if you see like a pack 1 really good fire card, a pack 2 really good fire card, a pack 3 a really good fire card, and you can just position yourself so that you predominantly take fire cards in the early part of your draft, it will leave you open to finding and puzzling through what your second color should be, and can be a nice way to step up from, okay, I've like forced enough drafts that I want to start taking more things into consideration. Now you can start to use your context because you can be like, okay, I got 3 really good Justice cards in my first 4 picks. And now I'll keep taking Justice cards, even if it's not the best card in the pack, just so that I can see, okay, I know I'm going to be in Justice. And then you can start to use and build your drafting skills of finding what's open, looking for signals, those types of like more draft specific skills to identify your second faction and use that as a way to kind of build some of those in draft skills. Also, if you happen to end up with a mono faction deck, they tend to be pretty good.
How often does that happen for you?
Not very often.
Yeah. I can't. I think there was a draft format. I don't know if it was how many ago it was where just drafting mono fire was good.
I'm trying to remember. I drafted mono Justice a couple times during the Argent Depths.
It was when Barricade Basher was still a thing.
I don't know.
But that might have just been my poor strategy.
Sure. Or you could have been trying it just to see what happens. In talking about our being in like one faction for the majority of the draft and then finding your second color, we mentioned really briefly the idea of staying open. And when people talk about being open, they mean choosing cards that allow you the most options as the draft progresses. So like one of the most open picks you can make is like Seek Power, because you'll literally play Seek Power in any deck. So you've 100% picked up a card that you're going to play. Whereas if I pick up Blitzstone and I never see another fire card, I'm not playing Blitzstone and I've lost that pick. So staying open is kind of I've heard it called as like drafting the hard way. If you follow Let's Talk Limited, or like staying open is like the preferred, I don't know preferred, but most.
I think if you asked 10 people to give you one piece of draft advice, you're going to hear stay open 5 times for sure.
At least.
It's the first thing you kind of think of when you start to think about draft strategy, because it's probably good, but it's also what people say. Like we talk about, I think we take this from Magic drafting, and what pro players will say. It's very challenging. It's definitely the hardest strategy. Knowing when, so you can take the best card in every pack objectively, but now you have to build a deck. When do you break away? When do you know that, oh, this is open? I can, not only am I getting the best fire cards, but it looks like fire is open.
Yep. A brief rundown of how to stay open is your first pack, you just take the best card. Your second pack, you just take the best card. Your third pack, maybe you take the best card. And you continue doing that. I don't have there's no like hard and fast rule for when you're going to stop doing that.
I want the rule. This is what I came here for, Mark. I came to get better in Act 2.
I like having a guess of what my first color is by the end of the first pack. I've heard people say they wait until sometime in pack 2. That scares me though, because I often...
Crazy. You guys are crazy.
Why?
Pack 2? This is why I force. This is why I go into the draft and I go Americano aggro.
Well, we're going to have a nice chat when we do our draft on stream.
Okay. That's wild though. You're right. I'm like you. I can't breathe if I go into the second pack and I'm like, I don't know.
Yep. But anyway, at some point, whether it's at the end of pack 1, some way through pack 2, you have to decide. You have to like see where it is that you're supposed to be. And then once you establish like what your primary color should be, then you start like puzzling, where's my second card going to be? So like you might take predominantly like fire cards and then end up with a handful of really good justice cards and a handful of really good time cards. And then as the draft goes, you're going to see like, am I seeing more fire cards? Am I seeing, oh no, Cassandrith.
Speaking of draft, hello, Cassandrith.
Cassandrith, we needed you like 10 minutes ago to teach us how to draft.
Yeah, we have no idea what we're doing. Cassandrith is raiding with a party of 100 plus. Hello.
Welcome, everybody.
We are the Misplay Podcast. We are recording our show live right now. Once a month, we record one of our shows live on Twitch. And we leave the VOD up, but then we edit the show down as we normally would. The goal is to show people our recording process. Being on Twitch, we get to do some funner things. In a few minutes, we're going to run through a draft. We are not going to play the games on stream, sadly, but we will run through the picks.
So that's kind of the breakdown of, I think if you're brand new to drafting, I would just don't be scared of drafting. Don't be afraid of losing because you're going to eventually. But I think it's fine to just start and like force. You could choose. I've heard somebody say Rakano is really good in this draft format. Take the Rakano cards. Once you do that a couple of times, I would encourage you to try the monofaction plan and pick your first color, and then maybe try to start reading signals to see where your second faction will land.
And that's a whole nother show, by the way, signals. We have to break that down.
Okay. And then last one would be doing a draft where you try to stay open and discover both factions that you're supposed to be in through the course of the draft. So drafting 101 per the Misplay. And when in doubt, listen to people that are better than us.
Hey, this is podcast editing Jason, and we did not put the draft on the podcast. It's never as interesting as when we're doing it on a live show and you can see the picks and you can participate in chat with the draft. Mark and I, we ended up drafting a Combre deck. Predictions were great. People thought we'd do really well with it. We liked the way that the deck turned out. I ended up playing it to 5 wins. I bet if somebody else played the deck, they probably could have got the 6 or the 7. So if you want to check that out, you can go to twitch.tv/Parmalee. And for the next 30 days anyway, you can watch the VOD of the draft, but not the games played. I'm now going to take you to our last word.
Our last word today is Jason has a bunch of mouse pads that he bought on Surplus.
I've got 2 mouse pads left. They look just like this. This is the one I use at my computer. Mark, you've got one. Are you using it at home?
Not
Took it to
currently.
school?
Once I have a desk, I will.
I know a few members of the team bought them. We gave a couple away to some members of the community. And right now we want to reward our patrons. And we've got 2 mouse pads to give away. And I went ahead, look at all of our patrons, Mark. It's crazy to think about sometimes how many people support the show. So thank you to all of you who support the show. And thank you just for the people on Twitch as well. But we've got a couple of mouse pads. We're going to give them away. I've got this little spin wheel created with all of our patrons just to make sure it's fair. And here we go. I'm going to spin the wheel. We've got 2 mouse pads. So the first mouse pad goes to sound effects. I like it.
I don't like it.
You don't like it?
No,
I use it with my
I don't like the
students.
sound
It's
at all.
great.
I changed my mind.
Oh, D-Dub.
no.
Now, I believe D-Dub has one.
I think that's true.
Or did I drop off a t-shirt? I don't remember what I dropped off to his house. I can't remember.
Well, you're just going to have to make an in-game decision because D-Dub's on vacation still.
I will spin 3. We'll assume D-Dub does not have one. I'll spin it because we have 2 to give away. And then I'll do a backup. I should have taken D-Dub out, but I didn't.
It's okay. Hopefully the odds will be in our favor.
Shy City Shogun gets a misplay mousepad. And this is my backup. I'm spinning this as my backup. And I should take them out when I do it.
Spin one more. It'll be fine. They're like, we have a surprising number of patrons.
Ajos. All right, I will reach out to D-Dub and Shy City. And if D-Dub already has one, Ajos is going to get a misplay mousepad.
Cool. Congratulations, everybody. And thank you, everybody, for all of your support.
You know who I'd love to give a mousepad to, Mark?
Oh, I think I do know. Are you talking about a specific Direwolf Digital employee?
A very specific Direwolf Digital employee.
Correct.
I think they would love a misplay mousepad.
I bet it would go really well with the mousepad that makes the really loud noise when he spins the scrolling wheel.
Sadly, I just gave away the last of the mousepads,
Ah.
though. So, I mean, that's their fault for not coming on the show sooner, right? You know who I'm talking about?
Current Magic the Gathering Hall of Famer
LSV?
on next week's show.
Hopefully, man. LSV on next week's show.
Today's episode is brought to you by our Patreon sponsors, Mike C., Jay, Quincy, Calvin, Yeast Out, Jed the Homerid, Slade Zeno, Shy City Shogun, Madness, D-Dub, Mercurial Blue, Cotillion, Metra Phenomenal, Prueben, Telemachus, Supermouse, Bantam Menace, Switchblade Comb, Cananida, Ajos, Alcide Bava, Queltrain, Kenneth, Missy, Todd 5, and James Knight 18. Welcome back.
It was not a Romanova. It was not a Romanova. Wow. It was not a Romanova. Wow. You would think that wouldn't get me, Mark. Now, it wasn't a Romanova's. I changed the V to a B.
No, you're not. You're fine. I think you're just mishearing yourself.
Maybe. It was not a Romanova's.
It's fine.
Nova.